All right, good evening. So for tonight, what I had planned for us are 3 items. The first one will be a lecture on filtering your posts so that in case you want only display a certain category or a certain year of posts, then you can customize the post feed. And this is going to use the WP_query class, which is a very powerful class from WordPress. And this is not a CSS class, this is a class as in a PHP object in a class. So we're going to look at the function it provides. So that's part one. The second part is I would like you to add a gallery to your site, to your theme. And I have a recommendation. It's going to be the one I have on my site for huge IT gallery, but you can take time to research and add something else if you like. And lastly, I would like us to add a slider. So the Milo slider that I had planned is now paid. It's no longer free. It looks like the free version, which you can get, an earlier version is available, but I think it's out of sync with WordPress. So that's not working currently. I'll show you what it does, but it doesn't seem to work. And so, according to my research, the Flex slider from WooTeams is a free one, a good one, and easy to integrate. So that'll be the one I would recommend you try to use. And if not, you can again research and find something else if you like.
What was the first one you said?
Maivo?
Okay, yeah, I've used that one before, but it must be the old. It's probably the old version.
I think it must be the old version. It's not working right
Yeah.
now, and it's no longer free. The latest version you have to pay, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
So we can look at that. And that should take us through the hour and 2 hours that we have. So let's get started. Just 1 second here. Okay, so again, the first part for tonight will cover how to customize or how to filter your posts on your site. And this corresponds to roughly to chapter 16 in the Orange Book. So page 208 WP query. So the idea being that if you wanted to customize your queries and filter them out, you're going to filter with WP query before you go into the loop, and then the loop is going to display custom filtered results. And then when you do this, then you want to persist those changes for your site. So then at some point towards the end of your loop, you need to reset your values back to normal. Sorry, it's just the temperature here is breezy where you are. All right, so first thing we should do is to actually look at WP query in the documentation. I have a typo here, I'll fix that in a moment. So let's take a look. So this was the lecture, and first thing we're going to do is look at WP query. So this is a class, deals with the intricacies of a post. And the example we have is only one example. You can get really quite custom by using WP query. A class defined in a certain file. The WP query object information defines the current request, and WP query determines what type of query is dealing with, such as could be an archive, a date, feed, search, and so on. Okay, so most of the time you can find the information you want without actually dealing with the class internals and global variables. Or global variables. We just talked about those. There are a whole bunch of functions that you can call from anywhere that will enable you to get the information you need. There are two main scenarios you want to use WP query in. Find out what type of request WordPress is currently dealing with. These properties are designed to hold this information. So these are the properties that are going to belong to the class. This is a more common scenario to plugin writers. The second is during the loop. Actually, this is what we are going to do. WP query provides numerous functions for common tasks within the loop. Have post calls WP query have post is called to see if any post to show. It will iterate through them as long as the posts show. So one way you could use it, so you have to create a query. So if you recall from PHP, actually we are going to cover objects either on Wednesday or on Monday next week, but this is the standard syntax for an object. Have you guys, I think some of you have had another class with objects. Do you remember anything about? We did cover objects in JavaScript. Yes.
I don't remember
Is the same. Is the same.
Okay.
So what this means here is that anytime you're dealing with a object, you have to create, or actually with a class. So WP query is a class. Do you remember this from Java a little bit? Right. So you have a class, and the class is like a blueprint or a template. And then you have to create instances of your class so that you can actually use it. We call these instances objects. And in this case here, and in any case, the syntax for creating an object out of the class uses the new keyword. And then you assign this new instance of the object to a variable. And after that, you can use that variable. That variable now holds the object. Okay?
So the WP query is an object and a class?
Well, it's a class. So according to the documentation, it's a class. And again, there is a relationship between the class is the blueprint, and when you instantiate it, it's an object. An object is an instance of a class.
Okay.
So the common example I can give you is if you have a class student or students, no student, class student, and the class student is going to have certain attributes. It's going to have student name, student address, GPA, and so on. So that's a class. And then from this class, I can instantiate an object set with your specific attributes, and, Nico and so on. So that's the idea.
So in this situation, is the variable the query? Is that technically the object?
It's now going to hold the object. When you do this assignment, when you did the assignment new WP query, then the query now holds the object. And so from this point on, as you can see here, we're not using WP query, but we're calling the query. And then this gives us access to the properties and functions that belong to the class. I wonder if I can find what I would expect to find on this page, frankly, would be, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Methods and properties. So each class is characterized with methods and properties, and these are the ones that belong to WP query. And it's really nice if they have formal documentation to start with, because that's what you'd want to look at. And note here that after we have created an instance of the query, WP query, and the name is $query2, then if we go down the list here, we're going to find have posts method. And we get to call it because we created an instance of this object, of this class. Once we have an instance of the class, we get to use the methods that belong to the class, right?
Methods are functions.
The methods are functions. If a function belongs to a class, it is referred to in many languages as a method. And the properties, those are the variables that belong to a class. You might hear them referred to as properties or attributes or instance variables, but that's what they are. They're just special variables that are associated with a class, and that's what gives it the object-oriented structure.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
Okay, that's the list that you would write after you declare the object, right? Like the block form. I'm thinking about it visually, sorry.
Sure. Let's see here. Are we trying to define the concept of a class and object, or what do you want to draw?
I was saying, you know how you write out the name, and then you make a list of the attributes, right?
In what? In CSS?
In JavaScript, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying
Yes.
to visualize it, sorry.
Yes.
I think what I'm thinking of is like a key value pair. Is that how it works? or
That's
not?
what Nico is talking about. You're talking about the object with a key value pair, like a JSON object?
Here, this is what I'm
Right.
talking about.
Sure.
So you have your code here, and then you go in here and write that big block, and there's the attributes here, right?
Yeah, this would be the definition of the class.
Okay,
If you're defining your own, in this case, this has already been defined by us, but that's exactly right.
okay.
So if we wanted to define our student class, actually that's probably a useful exercise, I think. Okay, so we want to have a student class. We've been tasked to design a student class. And then, as Nico said, then we need to fill out the properties and the methods that belong to a student. What kind of properties and methods should we include if we're talking about a student? Right, so name, and another clue should be the name of a class in object. The name of a class is in uppercase, otherwise these guys are lowercase. So name, and also if it's a property, again, is going to be a noun. If it's a method, it's going to be a verb, combination verb and something. So let's just do 3, we can obviously do many more. So property for student name, student ID, and one more.
Year or grade.
I guess GPA or grade, sure, grade. All right, and then methods. What kind of actions can a student class and a student object take? Piano, any thoughts? What can you do as a student?
Good. Copy, paste,
These are
they say word.
these are all true. We're just defining it here more from the admin side. So, for example, you could register.
Register, okay, right. And then,
And now we have methods, so then we're going to use the parentheses after it to indicate that they're methods, because they're just like functions, except they belong to a class. Okay, so register and give me a couple more.
is that register also as named as
So I can write-
init,
I'm sorry, is what?
the same as init register?
Is init?
Yeah.
Like
The
initial?
same init and register.
No, not necessarily. That init belongs to. We're just going. I can tell you about it. This has to do with the constructor of an object, and it's what you want to do is when you're working with a class, you create an instance of the object, and often you want to initialize the values that are the properties. So you call a constructor function, which here is called initialize, and then you set up all your values so you can work with it, and later you can change them. So for example, you can call init for the student. Actually, we could have an init different than register. Init would populate everyone with certain values, so it's not null.
Like a default.
Exactly, 1, 2, 3, and John Smith, and so on.
Okay.
But register, I meant more like register for class.
Yeah. So it gives you like
Hold
pay
the stop.
tuition.
Yeah, exactly. You can pay tuition, you can certainly pay.
Yeah.
So pay underscore tuition. And you can withdraw. Yeah. Exactly. And so you get the idea. And you can maybe, graduate, right? And so here, just for fun, we can also have a Boolean field, which is graduated. So that's going to be a Boolean, is going to be true or false. Right?
And would that be a property? It's not an action.
It's a property. And maybe what you can do is if you have a graduate method, when you graduate, you can set this to true, for example. That's not a great example, but you can manipulate these guys. So this is a class, and the same goes on here, really, except it pertains to WordPress queries,
So
attributes.
do you fill out those properties when we do this, or?
So no, in our case, we're going to be obtaining properties and filtering based on properties.
Okay.
So let me
Existing ones?
show you, yeah, exactly, existing ones. So what we're going to do is, now that we know a little bit about the class, we want to filter on the categories of the posts. So I'll show you how to find the category of a post and then set it up so you filter on this category. All right, so back to this example here with the standard loop, I think is where we're looking. And one thing you can do is say the query have posts. And so if we look here at the methods, which for some reason are not in alphabetical order, to be used when in loop or just before the loop, determine if we have posts remaining to be displayed. Calls rewind post and returns false if we don't have any posts remaining. So have post is going to be returning a Boolean true or false. And then it will produce posts if have post returns true, right? If it returns false, then we're done. And as you can see here, we're using this as an expression in a if statement, right? So this is going to return true or false. So if it's true, we'll go in the loop and then write the posts. If it's false, then we're not going to go at all inside this if statement. And then you print the posts. So these are all methods, again, of the query, which is our object. So the post is going to determine if posts remaining to be displayed. Sorry, that's not the right one, the post. Advance onto the next post and set the global post variable. So it moves the cursor, so to speak. And then the title. So is the title part of the, should we expect to find the title in the class here? What do you think? I think no, because it's not called from the object. Do you see there is no the query pointing to it?
What does that little arrow mean? I saw it today in
Yeah.
class and I've forgotten what it means.
So in this case, it means
Two.
This is how the object gets access to the methods that belong to the object. In many other languages, it's a dot. So how do you connect the object with the functions, with the method that belong to it? And in PHP, this is how. So it gives you access to the methods belonging to the object.
Or how different like with two equal, and equal with a greater. Because if you have a single line, what happens? Double line.
Where,
An equal sign with a greater.
right here?
Yeah, same thing, but two lines, which is a equal sign. After left one is the pass to the next one.
Right. So actually in PHP is double. So
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah, in PHP is double and this is single.
Do you know what it is in Python?
In Python, it would be a dot.
Yeah.
Dot.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So why would the title not be part of this when you want the title of the post, right?
Well, so let's double check what I'm saying here. So the title is not here, correct?
Oh, I see. It's not. Okay.
It's not part. It doesn't
Method
belong.
of the
That's why.
class.
It belongs to some other class, but not this one. It's some global class because apparently we can get to it without prefacing with anything. Just like since we talked about JavaScript, some of the objects like the browser object in JavaScript, they're global and they're available everywhere. So it's the same idea.
Okay.
And then you end the loop. And then this is the other function we want to look up, WP reset data. So you want to, again, reset the data after you have made the filter so it gets back to its previous state. Restore the global post variable of the main query loop after a secondary query loop. It restores the variable to the current post in the main query. In other words, always remember to use reset post data. Okay, so do you have some understanding, do you think, of the WP query?
I understand classes better.
Good, that's important. I'll call on you on Wednesday. On Wednesday. All right, so now we have reviewed WP query pretty extensively. So then how do you filter posts? I think that my changes didn't save here very well. Anyway, I'll look into this during the break. But let me log into... Filtering is more of a high-level functionality, and we're going to use WP query class methods to make it happen. Right? So if you filtering is more of a generic word. For example, I wanted to filter the search results to only include the last 2 weeks out of a year. This would be one example. All right, so if I log in here to WP admin,
And I have a confused basic question.
Sure.
And when I look at those instructions, and I look at the usage, standard loop and multiple property, those codes, I want to know which code belong to function, belong to the page, belong to, they both can place PHP in the file.
Are you asking about going back to WP query?
Yes. So which part of the code go to which part function file?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to go in we're going to put it in the index.php.
Index.
I mean, you can filter in any page, but we're just going to filter the main page
All
here.
of them. 3 of them.
Well,
Who
okay.
belong to index.
So this is only one example. We actually need to do this a little bit differently, but it has to go in the beginning of your loop. If you have a loop, then you can add it there. So
Index.
we're about to do this next, right? So if you actually go ahead and open your own themes as well, so we can set up your categories if we haven't done this already.
Oh, I think I had to do this for something.
All
I
right.
had to set categories for.
So go to posts. Actually, sorry. Do you have the, let's change to the theme that actually has this. Do you have the J2 theme? Go ahead and do, switch over to the J2 theme. You should have it uploaded now.
I didn't upload it.
You did not?
You get it?
All right, then I will, but then you can just do the exercise with your own. So I'll activate it here.
You get it? J2 theme.
All right. So let's see. So go to posts from your theme. And here you're going to have categories under posts. So go there. And you might have categories already if you set them up, or you might just have uncategorized. And you can, here you can add a new category, or if you have uncategorized, you can just edit it and make it into, for example, tutorials or some other category.
So you go to use current theme and go to post
Posts and then categories.
categories. And make some
Categories, and then you can add new categories, or you can edit your existing ones. So go ahead and make sure that that is happening for you.
it's not.
So your goal is to have a category of your own with some posts in it. Are we good or still working on it? Let's see here.
Or you want us to be adding the categories?
We'll just add at least one so you can practice it and we're going to use it.
So
Or you can change your, since you, okay, so if you already have some posts under the category, you can just edit this one and just leave it. I mean, you can keep it uncategorized, but change it. Okay, and maybe even practice adding another one. So do you remember why we're adding
Yes.
categories? Why?
Yeah, because I have 2 pages on my, in my website that will be using posts, and I only wanted to display the posts that matched which page it should be on. And I actually, I Googled this and found code, and now I will understand it much better. But I already implemented it, and it's actually very simple.
Great.
And so I had to give categories to each one. The one that I have, though, the category has to match the title of the page. So if you have a blog page or a whatever the page title is, that's how this particular code that I found gets the.
So you did
So
more
I'll
like
show you how
this
to
is
do
a
it.
blog or this is a blog.
Yeah, so like it says category and like the post title, those two have to match up.
So now that you have a category, when you're working with the WP query, what you actually need is the ID of the category. And you can get the ID by the following methods, 2 methods. You can click on it, you can hover over it. And if you hover over the category, and if you look down here, can you see the bottom of my page? So there is a ID equals, in this case, 3. So this is going to be the ID for the test category, and that's what you're going to want to use. Or I want tutorials. So if I hover over, this one has the ID of 1. So you need to make a note of the ID of the category that you want to use.
So the ID equal 1, 2,
Let me
and
take a look. Make sure to look at the part that says tag
Yes.
underscore ID equal.
got it.
So it should be just 1.
Yeah.
Yours is 12.
12 and post.
Well, you just want the number 12, so
Okay,
don't
just the
worry
number
about the
12.
other parameters that are this. And the other thing you can do is also if you click on your category as such, then you can also see it up here. Same thing. ID in this case equals 1. All right.
So then add more.
So does everyone have a category set? And did you make a note of the ID of your category for next steps? All right. All right, so here is one example of how this would work. The first step would be to create the filter, and to create the filter, does this ring a bell, this line right here?
Creating an object.
We're creating an object. And we're passing it, we want this one to have the category of 3, for example. Right, so you have to insert your own. And if you want, you can also have a year, but maybe you just want the category. And then you're going to apply it to the loop posts. So now we're using the query object instance. If query have posts, while the query has posts, the query the post. And so you run this in the loop, and after the loop is done, you want to make sure to reset the data, reset the post data. And these are all the lines put together, and we can go and look at them in the editor here. And I would like you to, there's just a few lines, go give it a go and try adding it to your index page and see the result. So let me open the page containing those lines in the editor. So if you're working with the J2 team, it's going to be index.php, in index.php. And these are the lines of code. I think I'm going to copy them in, how should we do this? Do you want to? Wait, sorry, these are not, hold on, just a second. No, this is for the slider, just 1 second here. All right, okay. So actually this example uses, you can pass those categories as an array instead of just a single variable. So this is what is done here. It sets an array by passing it the first key value pair in the array is the category equals the number. Does this make sense? So this is the same example, except it doesn't just hard code the category, but puts it in an array and then passes this array as an argument to the object.
Is it an array because it's possible your blog post might be in more than one category?
It is because it might be in more than one category and you might have additional parameters. The structure created by WordPress to store these is an array, not a simple variable. So these are the lines you need to add and then modify your own category, or you can grab them from let's see here. You can grab them from here if you like, and just give it a try. So these lines from here to here, and this one uses just the hard codes the value of the category, as you can see.
This goes in the index.
It's going to go in index PHP.
After the meta, or before.
It goes before. So the array that goes into the WP query, here another example, it has category as the first key value pair and post count as the second one. So there are the different ways in which you can filter. There was one other thing I forgot to do here for this demo, so let me just. So I forgot that my site is set with a static page, so I want to show this. I'm going to change to latest posts here. And now, okay, so that's what I wanted to show you, and you can see here the slide, the demo, unfortunately not working, but so these are the tutorials category that I selected with the ID of one displayed here.
Well, I did not see you. Where did you put the ID number? You
So unfortunately, there are two different ways you can do it. If you want to get it from the file, it's going to be stored in an array, or you can get it from the Nook houses, and then it's going to be stored as a hard-coded as cat equals one and pass it to the WP query. Are you guys following okay? Because there are a couple different things going on here. You're not, okay.
About as much as I usually follow along with this.
So the first thing was you wanted us to put that first WP query into our index.
Correct.
We need to change a few themes to match our site.
Right.
And it just goes above the loop.
It should go right above the loop here. Let me get it. Let me copy this page, or just I want to open it in. What I would like to do is open it in brackets. I think that's the problem. So let's see. Because it's not aligning and indenting, and it's very difficult to see. So let me open it in brackets, and then let's walk over this from scratch, again from step one. It's not allowing me to extract the files. All right. So brackets.
No, this is not what I want. You use it only in the, only in there. So I think it's a CMS.
Okay, so I opened the code inside the brackets, which hopefully it's easier to see. So here are the lines that we are going to use, or you will use to, you don't need to worry about this line here, but create an array that contains the category and perhaps how many posts you want to have displayed. And then pass this argument to the function, to the WP query as an argument, and then create your loop. And after you run your loop, you're going to reset post data. So these are the lines you need. This is actually related to something else. So to make this work, you need to know the ID of your you need to have categories. You need to have the ID of your categories. And do you all have a blog as your main page, or do you have a static page? So you may want to change it for this exercise so that it's easier to see. It's going to be under settings reading, so I can show you. So if you need to change, take a look, please. It's going to be under settings, reading. And here you have an option, your latest post or a static page. And just for now, change it to the latest posts. Okay. And then you're going to add the following lines. Now these lines refer to the J2 theme, which you can just either put your own or just use slider param here. This is because this was, the name has to do with the fact that this was part of the slider demo, but it's irrelevant really at this point. So Seth, is this kind of what you did as well?
Yeah,
Anything different?
this is what, I sort of understood it just from taking PHP, but now it makes a lot more sense.
So we don't need a slider wrapper.
No, because this example no longer works because the Naivo slider is not. It's either not free, or it's, if it's free, it will be out of sync with WordPress. So try to get this to work, and then if it works, you should see the categories, the post with the category that you selected with the ID displaying. So for example, here, as you can see, if I look in posts, categories, and tutorials, and I hover over, it has an ID of 1. And then if you look in the file, you need to set the correct ID. And then the result would be tutorials is the category that it displays. Right. So try to get this to work. It's actually 7:30 or 8:30. As usual, maybe just take a very short break so we can get out here. That's your plans for the problem. So this is index page.
So with having it hard coded, you'd have to put it on whichever page you wanted that specific category to show, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, because even this one, so I made a custom template for using this blog template deal, and so then this both my like recipes and blog page pull from the same one, and then just use the category of the page title. So that way it works out well. I only have one template, and
It's because you're not presenting prayers?
well, and it still seems to be. So on my front page, I have it showing all types depending on the date, just like latest. The recipes, it will show just the recipe ones, and blog will show just the blog ones. And they both pull from the same template. They just use the category name. They pull the category name from the page title.
Where do you put it?
So
The same page. Because you don't use the name.
because I think it's linking category ID to the post title, and then putting it into posts, and then sticking those posts, and then only displaying those posts with that category ID. But the ID is the title, not the number. But I was trying to do that down here and find which one, like if it had that on there,
So look at the categories now, yes?
and it, like, so in this case, category name equals. Oh, no.
I think your categories not.
Oh, that's right. And so here. So 6. But then I thought that was interesting because it doesn't have it as, like the name isn't there at all, like the category name. So that was interesting.
It's
I don't
using
know.
the ID.
Yeah, it's using it somehow. It worked, so.
Okay.
But I'm curious about that reset.
For the thing within the joint. So the first thing you want to do will be right here. So you can see this is essentially almost right after the header.
Yeah.
Right? And then you start right here. You start with setting up an array with a category code, the category on your categories. Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
I think that what's confusing is WordPress. The way
Yeah.
WordPress is laid out.
Well, look, my site actually works, this is a lot more than I had before. My CSS was doing it. So now I actually have something which is great. So, I'm making progress. I have all my pages, I just need to fix my CSS.
I guess a whole different matter.
Yeah.
So this is, you look at a loop here. So I think it's supposed to go before the standard loop.
Okay.
It is almost working.
Oh, starting that code that I was helping with the other night.
Yeah, what was it?
I found, so I had put the input type button, not submit.
Oh my
And it was that
god.
tiny little thing, and everything else had button, and that now works.
Because
So,
it needs to have submit to submit.
yes.
Right.
I just thought it was a button.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We should have caught that.
I
though.
know. And I was like just
Yeah.
kicking myself, like, how did I miss that? Like,
I'm glad you found it. But it's not something you'd look for.
right. I'm like, it's gotta be something more complex
Right,
than that.
right. Oh, it's great you found it.
Oh, good. Mine is 14. This one is 1. Oh, 1 only.
So after this exercise, then I thought you can. Do you have a listening to a slider?
That's neat. Mine's not filtering. I've got the category, but I've only got 2 blog posts and I changed each of their categories. Let's see. Categories. And people.
So you're supposed to sew up on the main page. Oh. Actually, yes. Yes. Let me see. One more time. I just missed it.
No, so this should be. So this is the equal.
Oh yeah, right below where your cursor is at.
So we change nothing, just change the cap.
Here's what I suggest. Yes. Go ahead and try. I mean, this should work. I was going to say to try to just hard code it, but really there is no reason this doesn't work. So let me. Here is the code. Let's take a look at what else.
And post count just means how many of this category will display. Is it because maybe these are not equals?
No, you copy and paste.
I did change this.
This is the same. This series it doesn't.
Yeah, yes, I guess I did change something because in there it said J2 theme. So here. Oh, yeah.
So those two are different. So maybe they just out. It should make a difference. The thing is on this matches. So this should match. Try now.
Since that one says J2 theme slider, I should put my name.
No, that's just a convention. It should make a difference. So it's good. You can put series in all of them.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to break it. Because of the indentation being all
Yeah.
wacky, let me look at this in here.
Oh.
me try this. I clipped the other part of the keyboard because
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, this is doing in a way, as far as I know. I mean, again, I didn't write this exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I modified it like with the values and added like. Right.
this one.
So, oh, yeah, there's those words. So that's gonna be more, this is just. Let's look at it and see what that is. So yeah, I guess it's extra key.
I'll come, let me just, what are you? Alright, okay.
Yes.
So what I wanted to say is that if you, some of you are still working on the WP query, but let me just tell you the other steps that you might want to work on, and then it's going to be open lab for the rest of the class, and I'll come back and look at your code list. All right, so again, a couple suggestions. I would like you to try to add a gallery and a slider on different pages, maybe one or the other. As you might have seen, I have the huge IT gallery added here. So if you go in Canvas, you have links to suggested galleries and suggested slider. So let me show you this, and then you can work on incorporating them into your sites. Or you can try finishing up your categories example. Here's the huge IT gallery. And this is the one that I have on my site somewhere. All right, so this is the example, and it's pretty easy and pretty nice. So you can try configuring something like that with your own images. And then I also had in the lecture notes how to add the Nivo slider, but unfortunately, as I already mentioned, I'll just show you, it's no longer free and the older versions don't work. So I don't think that's the slider to use. And instead try this one, the Flex Slider 2. This one is free, and it's there are some tutorials you can find, so you can give it a try. It should work, and it should be pretty easy to put together. So these are two possible courses of action you can take. I have in my lectures the lecture about the Nivo slider, and we can look at it, but I'm not sure if it will be very helpful. I didn't have a chance to put together the Flex slider.
Are we just doing these like jQuery plugins, or are we there some way to do it?
Well, what you can do is search for Flex slider. I was looking at that, but I didn't finish the WordPress, then say WordPress tutorial. And then it's going to tell you, download the files, and then add this part to add these files to your theme folder.
Okay.
and so on. And also you certainly have the option of researching something else if you want to. You don't have to be using the to the time suggesting, but they're starting point and they're reliable. And this is what I have planned for us. And maybe I can do this as well up here. So let me turn off the recording for now.